And we are live for episode 3 of The Long Take. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've all had a fantastic week. It's been a week since I've last spoken to you from The Long Take. And a lot's happened. A man was eaten by a shark in Egypt. And some stuff's happened in football. We've been linked to Mike My Nan. We've been linked to Lautaro Martinez. We've been linked to Neymar again. Man City have won the treble. But more important news... Uh, I was gonna put out a video. That's more important news. I was gonna put out a video the other day, yesterday. I had it ready to go, and I watched it back, and I was like, I can't put this out because it wasn't to the level of it wasn't to the standard that I hold myself to. That I'm going to hold myself to. And so I put out a thingy on the channel saying I'm going to delay it. And that's what I've done. And what I've done is I've rewritten it. I've basically added another like 1,000 words. I've added some different players to it. I've tweaked it around here and there. And I've recorded it earlier, and I've been editing it during the Champions League final, and I hope that you guys will enjoy it. But that'll be coming out either on Sunday or Monday, or at the very, 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 very latest Tuesday. But moving on from that boring stuff, a man was eaten by a shark in Egypt. Now, I'm a big fan of the TV show River Monsters, and so I know just how horrible sharks are. I mean, the three species of sharks you really want to avoid underwater just floating on the water, is the great white shark, which is usually around Australia and South Africa. They're really bad off of South Africa, really bad. Quite big there. The tiger shark and the bull shark, which is usually around Florida. Actually, I was watching an episode of River Monsters last night, one of the older ones where he was in Florida fishing for bull shark, which is just mental. But yeah, the man getting eaten by a shark is just absolutely horrific, and it's probably one of the worst ways I can imagine dying. Just being in the water and not having any real way to defend yourself against this 10-15 foot long piece of muscle with the sharpest teeth you can imagine on the end of it, and just these black dead eyes just trying to rip you to shreds. I feel really bad for him. He was a Russian, and so a lot of people like cheering him on, but like with every war, not everybody from a certain country is guilty. I think that can be said. We don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't know much about the person. He could have been pro-war, and in that case, then I'm not feeling too sorry for him. But I'm going to assume his innocence, and I'm going to say nobody deserves to go out that way, or at least not many people deserve to go out that way. As I said, sharks are just absolutely horrendous animals, and I remember there being what was that? I think a U.S. Navy boat went down. Or was it the USS Indianapolis that went down during the war? There was a film made about it with, I think, Nicolas Cage in it. Shout out Nicolas Cage, by the way. He was at the Summer Games Fest. He's giving the new oh my god, what's that game called? I haven't played it in years. It's when you chase after someone with these characters and you put them on hooks, but they've got to start generators to open a gate. Whatever. I think it's Dead by Daylight. Is that what it's called? I think. But he's giving me that game. Anyway, I diverted massively. The ship went down, and literally hundreds of sailors were eaten by sharks just over the days. They went down in properly shark-infested waters. That's just a horrible sentence in itself. Shark-infested waters, but sharks, man, they're up there with bears and moose. I have a odd fear of moose. I've never met a moose. I'm gonna keep saying have a sip every time I say moose. No, I'm joking. You get drunk very quickly. But I have a weird fear of moose, mainly because they are, as far as I'm aware, pretty fearless towards humans. Bears can be scared off. You can, do the whole make yourself bigger. Yay, bear! Shout at it. Get the bear spray. Get a gun. Fire in the air, and it'll probably run off, unless it's a mama bear where it will bloody charge you. Because mama bears don't play around. Moose, on the other hand, they are surprisingly massive, and I swear they kill more people a year than bears. Not in the way that bears kill you. Bears kill you by ripping your face off. and eating you alive. Moose kill you by not looking both ways before crossing a road. Although they do stalk humans. I saw this horrible video, no, it wasn't a video. It was an old, I think it was a Mr. Nightmare. Remember Mr. Nightmare? I used to love channels like that when they would just tell like old creepypasta stories and 3 terrifying stories from, I don't know, three terrifying stories from night shift workers or something like that, or something along those lines. Oh god, those are the days, man. Listening to those playing Watch Dogs 2, man, they're reminiscing right now. Where was I Yeah, he was telling a story about this guy who was getting basically followed by a moose, and no matter where he went, the moose was just always like just following him, like just always in the corner of his eye. And the thing with moose is you can't swim to escape them because they're quite confident swimmers, which just makes them another horrendous thing. But moving on from mooses, bears. Yes, bears. I had another discussion with bears today, and I completely agree. Bears are horrific. Grizzly bears are very scary. I wouldn't mind coming across a black bear, mainly because black bears aren't super aggressive. They may get a little bit too close for comfort in terms of food. That they are a bit of a scavenger. They mainly eat berries, but they will eat meat if they come across it easily. But grizzly bears are. Polar bears are even worse. But I feel like I've got if I went to America, the chances of me coming across a polar bear compared to a grizzly bear are rather slim. But I'm not going to America anytime soon. I don't know where I've gone to America from. But I'm going to be answering some questions. I asked for you guys to ask me some questions on my community page, which is where I would also recommend you guys keep an eye on, because I do provide updates for the channel and updates on videos, when they're finished writing, when I've recorded them, general thoughts, giving polls, interacting with you guys is what I love to do. And so make sure you keep an eye on the community tab on the channel. It's basically like a Twitter feed, basically, but just for YouTube. When are you uploading your next vid? This will probably be my next vid, the long take, because I don't have to do much editing for it. As I said, it's a nice way to settle down at the end of the week and just discuss things that have come up and have struck my interest. So this will probably be out either 3 o'clock in the morning or early Sunday morning, where it's finished processing and it's finished doing its checks, but I'd have fallen asleep because I'm up early tomorrow morning. So I upload it probably around 7:30 to between half 7 and 8 o'clock tomorrow morning on a Sunday on the 11th of June. So that's when I'll be uploading it, and when I'll be uploading the midfielder video, as I said, Sunday, Monday, or the very, 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 very latest Tuesday. I want to hold myself to that. The video will take a little bit longer than the usual video because I went into that much detail in the players I looked into. So it will take a little bit of a while to kind of gather all the relevant data and make it look nice and enjoyable for you guys. As I said, quality over quantity is something I want to live by on my channel. And for the past week, I've kind of fallen into the trap of really wanting to get as many videos out as possible. And I've just realized that's not me. Although I'd love to do that, I don't have the time to put out the level of quality videos at the rate I want to do them. They usually take a few days, if not a week, to put together. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. Yeah, man. This is from Kavari. Sorry, I need to get my eyes checked. Sorry. Yeah, Kavari. This is his last name. Yeah, man. I'm just out here stressing over exams, but also realizing that they don't really matter in the long run. Just hoping I do well. I would suggest taking your exams somewhat seriously. I didn't. I got lucky because COVID happened, and I didn't have to do many exams except for my last year when I had to do about 50, all spread out throughout the year, which was not fun. But I would suggest taking your exams seriously. If I could go back, even though I did well in my exams, well, the exams I had, and did well in the assessments, if I could go back and give myself, for anybody, a little bit of advice for doing exams, is just to really, at the end of each day, I know it sounds so boring and you want nothing to do with work, with school, but just take 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, just to read over whatever happened that day. If you're in English, just literally scan with your eyes over the essay you wrote or the poem you deciphered and remind yourself what different part, what the different stanzas represented and that kind of stuff. Or if you're doing maths, maybe look online for a maths tutorial and just have that on in the background. Or when you're falling asleep, just listen to someone explaining a maths thing. Although, in fact, no, it would help because it'd be boring, so you'd fall asleep faster. But at the same time, you'd also learn a little bit and get that ingrained in you. So when you're in the exam hall and as the questions presented to you, it'll be a lot easier and you won't be panicking. A little bit what I did because I was terrible at revising, but I still did all right. It's clear that Chelsea need a striker, but that has been true for years now. Every striker Chelsea has signed has flopped. Diego Costa, Didier Drogba, hello. Don't ignore the other strikers, but those two. Why would anything change? Who's to say that the next striker won't just flop as well? Listen, Chelsea have been really, really, really unlucky. When Lukaku was signed, I was pessimistic. I remember watching him during, I think it was the 2020 Euros, and I wasn't impressed. Although they were delayed until 2021, but I was not impressed. He had every time I watched him, I just he's having a few bozo moments. I'm not really excited about him. If we're going to splash 100 million on him, just add another 50 and get Haaland. But we didn't do that. We got Lukaku. He scored the same amount of goals as Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz isn't even a striker. And obviously, Haaland went to Man City and won the treble and scored about 500 goals in 4 games or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. But I think the problem with Chelsea's strikers is the number 9 curse is very real. No. The problem is the Chelsea shirt, it carries such a weight. We had such an amazing striker in Didier Drogba that a lot of us like to compare them to Drogba in a way, and they put a lot of weight on their shoulders. And because we've had so many poor strikers, we demand a lot from the next one, whoever comes in. And so that striker, like Timo Werner, he felt a lot of pressure. That striker then has a lot of pressure on their mind to perform, and if they don't perform, then they will be considered a flop alongside the likes of Tammy Abraham. Wasn't really a flop because he came from the academy and he did fairly okay. It's just that he never really looked like a player who was naturally talented or naturally gifted on the ball. He always looked a little bit like he was playing on stilts. He looked like he was playing on Bambi on ice is a term usually used towards players like Tammy Abraham, but he did, he was a little bit off balance a lot of the time, and you just can't get that. You just can't do that for a player who you want to be scoring 20 plus goals a season every season. You just can't. But I do feel like a striker like Victor Osimhen will work. I've watched him play quite a bit. I've watched a few comps. No, I joke. I have watched a few comps, but when you watch him play, I watched him play against, I think it was either Torino or Roma, and he scored an absolute belter from a crazy angle. And I hadn't watched Napoli much, and I saw him and Kvaratskhelia linking up. And he did well against Juventus, if I remember correctly. And I just remember thinking, oh, okay. I mean, I knew of Victor Osimhen, and I knew that we'd been kind of linked to him for a few years. Back when he was at, I want to say, wasn't Lille. What was the other one? Oh, sorry, it's end of the day, my brain scrambled. But he was at another team before he joined Napoli. I know what the badge looks like. It's not Strasbourg. I think it might be Lens. My brain's gone. But I watched him play and I was very impressed. He had that. I don't want to use the word aura because it's so overused. But he had that way of moving on the ball, and he had that way of striking it where you just look at him and you think, wow, that is a proper striker. Moving on. Thoughts and feelings on City completing the treble. I don't care. Every time City's won the league, or every time they won a trophy, unless it was against us, of course, but every time they've done that, I've not really given a shit. Sorry for swearing, but I've never really cared. It doesn't mean anything to me. If Arsenal had won, the amount of trophies that City have won, I'd be pissed. If Spurs had won the amount of trophies, Man City have won, I'd be annoyed. But Man City just feel like such a nobody club. Obviously they are. They have their fans out there. As little as they are, they don't cause that much of they want to be hated, and they want to be rivals to people, because I don't want to say it's boring being a City fan, but when you're winning all the time, it's like too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. At what point does it become exciting? Obviously, winning trophies is fun, and laughing at other teams, getting angry at your victories must be somewhat enjoyable, but at what point do you think yeah, another one, brilliant. Put it next to the other 15 trophies. It's the whole like they've done what we've tried to do is spend a lot of money, and we've done that in the past, and that worked for us back then, and it's not really worked out for us so far, but we're very early on. Things will be a lot better next season, the season after that, trust me. But the way Man City have gone about things, they've done it very well. They've bought money and they spent it in the right areas, and they've done it with probably the best manager in the world at the helm of their club. Whereas Chelsea, we've had 4 different managers this season, and we've spent £600 million. I know that £600 million players haven't arrived yet. You know, you're looking at Christopher Nkunku, Malo Gusto, players like that. And Kendrick Payas, Andre Santos, Cesar Caste. A lot of these players have gone out on loan or haven't arrived yet. But my point is, their structure there is so much more certain than a team like Chelsea's, and so them winning everything and competing at the highest level for every trophy, as I said, it doesn't really mean anything to me. They're the club you want to win the league so that your rival doesn't win it. That's how they are. So when they win the league, it's just like, all right, then maybe next season someone else will win it. That's how it feels. What are your expectations or goals for Chelsea next season? That's coming in from Lewis Morgan. Champions League, no. Top 4 finish, obviously. Or is it top 5 now? They've changed something. I don't know if it's coming into effect next year or the year after that, but they have changed something. But I want us to be consistent. I want consistency. I want Reece James to not be injured for half the season. I want players like Mykhailo Mudryk to be developed. I want players like Kano Chukwuemeka to be developed or to be sent on loan so he can develop. I saw a thing about him going to AC Milan apparently, with a declaration to buy or whatever, an option to buy, something like that. I don't agree with that. I think Kano Chukwuemeka could be a great player. I don't really want him to have an option to leave after one season of stunted growth because of 4 different managers didn't develop him in any way. That's not really his fault. But my goal for next season is to really hone our craft. You know, get rid of the dead wood, and just find a style of play, a rhythm to follow, and that can be done with Pochettino. You know, we saw how he did with Spurs. They became quite a well-oiled machine under him. And I think with the right signings in the summer and the right outgoings, we can certainly become that. It's going to be I think we'll be at the peak of our powers in the 24-25 season, and we're going into the 23-24 season. But I think the season after that is where we're going to be really competing for the league. I'm gonna have a sip of I'm about to say water. It's not water at all, actually. It's hang on. It's actually a little bit of Coke and whiskey I got for my birthday. Thank you, family. Thank you, grandmother. Thank you, Nan, for the whiskey. It's very nice. Glen Moray, if you're wondering. But that's all the questions on YouTube so far. Let's see if Twitter has any questions. Yes, honest opinions on Santos and Cassidy. That's from Says V Says V. Sorry. Santos and Cassidy have been pretty good. I'm pretty sure they've been lighting up the under-20s World Cup. Cassidy has like 7 goals in 6 games. That's quite impressive, and he's a dying breed. Sorry, I'm going to adjust. He's a dying breed of a midfielder. He's a goal-scoring midfielder. And I don't know where he'd fit into this Pochettino side. Obviously, Pochettino plays the 4-2-3-1, and he's a number 8. So, do you put him in a pivot with Enzo? He's not really a pivot player, and he's not. You know, if you're going to put him in a pivot with Enzo, that means he'd have to do the majority of the defensive work, and that stunts his attacking output, of course, and that's his strengths, obviously. You can't really have him playing behind the striker because that's where Nkunku will be. You can't have him on the right because that's where Sterling or Madueke might be, or Amari Hutchinson perhaps, potentially, I don't know. Or you can't have him on the left because that's where Neymar will be, or Mudryk. And you obviously can't play him at striker, so where does he fit in? Unless we play a 4-3-3, which is what some people were suggesting when we were linked to Ugarte, and having a midfield of Ugarte, Caicedo, and Enzo Fernandez would have been certainly interesting, but now Ugarte's at PSG. That's not going to happen, is it? So for Cesar Caste, I think he should go on another loan, but I'd like to see him loan to a bigger club than Reading. As for Andre Santos, he was quite exciting. I think he did quite well at the there's a South American Cup on, and he did really, 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 really well there. He was lighting up the tabloids with his name in headlines. Again, that's another player I'd like to see go on loan. Haven't seen as much as I'd like to see of him, mainly because, as I said, he's been playing in Brazil and they play games quite late. And I'm an old man now, so I need my naps. Um, but what I've seen of him, he is certainly promising. And another loan, as I said, these are two players that I believe can have a future at Chelsea. As I said, Casadei doesn't really fit into Pochettino's system right now. Pochettino's on a 3-year contract, and knowing Chelsea, he won't last more than 2 before he gets hacked. So we never know who comes in. If somehow Enrique gets sacked, I know, because I think Nagelsmann's going to be the next PSG manager. Wherever Enrique goes, whether it's Napoli or wherever, if he gets sacked, then I say bring in Enrique once Pochettino's done. Play the 4-3-3, put him in that Iniesta, put him in that Rakitic role, and then just roll with it basically in that 4-3-3 system. That could do quite well, I think. But that's looking years into the future. So Caste on loan, Santos on loan. That's my honest thoughts on those guys. Any other questions? Who would you rather choose, Lukaku or Werner? Werner, 100%. Do you know why? One, Werner was actually a better player for us than Lukaku ever was. And two, Werner actually cared. As much as we got annoyed at Timo Werner for his missed chances, and it was very frustrating at times, he always, I'm going to swear again, he always gave a shit. He never down tools. He was always there, and we supported him through it because we knew how much confidence can affect a player. And so instead of booing him off the pitch every game because he missed a few chances, we instead cheered his name. You know, Timo Werner, da 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 da. We did the whole thing. We backed him till the end. And as far as I'm aware, he was very grateful for that. And he left with no hard feelings. And I even think he said some positive stuff about Chelsea not long ago. I could probably find that quote if I just found it. Timo Werner, because he spoke about Kai Havertz as well. Like Kai Havertz always had a place in the team where Timo didn't always have that. Didn't always have that place in the team. He had to fight for his place. I don't think it's gonna be in here, is it? The news story. No. But Timo seriously liked the club, and we seriously liked him. He was a lovely character. What was that? I swear we did a prank on him on like it was like agent. That's where the Agent Jorginho memes come from. Where it was like some tire advert, and we were getting into like dances and stuff. That was funny. But I'm taking Timo Werner over Romelu Lukaku 100%, and that leads perfectly into the next question. How shit do you think Lukaku was in the Champions League final? That's from CFC John. 4, thank you, CFC John. Lukaku was absolutely woeful. He came on for Edin Dzeko, I think, around the 60th minute mark, and he had probably one of the worst Champions League final cameos I've ever seen in my life. He missed a sitter, and he blocked a clear goal. He had horrendous touches. He did absolutely nothing. And he's probably knocked about £20 million off of his fee for whoever wants to come in for him, because he's not coming back to Chelsea. No chance. No chance. Oh, he thought he was like LeBron James. He thought he was Luka Doncic. He thought it was like some NBA player. You know, I'm him. He was in the interviews. What an absolute knob jockey. This guy was an absolute idiot. He had a horrendous game, and I can only laugh at him. What players do you think will make strides under a new coach? That is a fantastic question. I think Neymar will do quite well. All right, I'm gonna drop the whole Neymar thing. Good question. Pochettino, what kind of players does he like? Well, he likes road runners, not road runners, but he likes players that can run the entire game and really put in 100%. And so I think someone like Mudryk will do quite well. Mudryk's obviously he's really fast, and Pochettino's going to appreciate that. And with that pace comes naturally good pressing ability. If you can close a man down quickly, if Pochettino can get that into him, if Pochettino can really work on that pressing side of his game and really hone that in, then Mudryk can be quite an impactful player when it comes to the press. As I said, he's really, really, really fast, and he's quite strong as well. If he's able to get that down, he's one hell of a player. Who else? Well, he likes his cams. He likes his kind of second strikers. You know, you think about the Dele Allis. and so I think Nkunku will do really, really well, really well. I don't know if that means he'll make strides under him. I don't know if that means like who will just perform well or who will improve massively, because um, I think Cucurella will do quite well under Pochettino. I think Pochettino will settle him in and really try and get the best out of him. Where, as I said, yes, we can have a go at the players all we want this season, but they've had 4 separate coaches. We started off with Tuchel. They also, a lot of them probably had quite a good bond with Tuchel. They respected him a lot. He was obviously a massive coach, and then he left. Graham Potter came in. There was no respect for Graham Potter. He was called Harry Potter behind his back. He was too much of a nice person. You can respect someone. There's 2 ways you can respect a coach. You can respect him because you like him. You can respect him because you fear him, but you can respect him because you want to impress him. And it was always because they liked him. And so I think out of everyone, yeah, I'm going to stick by my guns. I think Mudryk will probably improve most under Pochettino. I really believe in Mudryk. I know a lot of people have already sold their stocks, but I'm keeping my stocks. But yeah, that's that. Moving on from football, I went to go see. I'm gonna have a drink actually. Hang on. Before I say what I went to go see, I'm gonna have a drink. That's really nice. I would highly, I can't talk. I'm already drunk. I would highly recommend Glimmeray, by the way. I went to go see the new Spider-Man film, Across the Spider-Verse. Fantastic film. Absolutely brilliant. I loved the first one. The art style in the first one, I say this to my mates, but you could pause any part in that Into the Spider-Verse. You could pause at any moment and it will make an incredible poster, because the way that art was done in the animation and the colors that were used was just beautiful. And then when I watched Across the Spider-Verse, it was that tenfold. There was a scene where it was Gwen Stacy in her universe talking to her dad, and she's Spider-Woman, and she's got those colors. She's got that color scheme, that blue, that that baby blue, that pink, and the kind of the in between color in that. And it was almost like looking at, I don't want to say a Van Gogh painting, but it was almost like looking like can't talk. Sorry, it was almost like looking at a painting from one of those properly well-renowned painters. Great use of English, me. Properly well-renowned, bloody idiot. But the use of colors, and it looked like it was painted instead of just like doing a general backdrop for the back of an apartment, like with a painting or a window. They just used color, and it was a nice change. It was an artistic choice that worked, not an autistic choice. It was an artistic choice that worked really, really well, and it really benefited the film because it set it apart from other films that just I'm not going to say focus on visuals, because you can focus on visuals in one way, and it's going to sound weird, but you can focus on visuals in another way, where everything looks hyper realistic, or everything has its own tone, its own theme, and its own warmth to it. Sorry. And that's what Across the Spider-Verse was. And it was a brilliant story as well. I'm not going to spoil it in any way, so you can rest easy. Everyone dies at the end. No, I'm joking. Only a few. Who dies? I don't know. But brilliant story. I really liked what was his name? I really liked Peter B. Parker in this film. I thought he was really good. It was nice to see him like have joy in life again, because in the first film he's in a divorce, and he's had a divorce. He's kind of alone. He's let himself go. He's kind of in that rut. He's kind of in a depression, really. And in the second film, he finds his joy again. He finds love. It's not a spoiler, but he's got a kid now, and he spends all his time just with that kid, just bonding and being a proper dad, and just shoving his phone into everyone's faces. Look at this very cute photo of my baby. Like, properly nice character. And it was nice to see the old characters return as well. Noir Spider-Man again. Nicolas Cage returned, and that was fun. But fantastic performance from everyone in that film. I gave it a 5 stars on Letterboxd. I use Letterboxd, by the way. I'm one of those pretentious people. I don't know. I saw a thing on Twitter like calling like if he's got or if he or she has a letterbox, it's a red flag. I don't think so. It's a nice place where you can kind of express your love for films. Most of my letterbox is just Shawshank Redemption, Shutter Island, and Into the Spider-Verse was one of them. I'm actually going to pull that up now. What other films are on there? It'd be kind of funny to go through them live. The films I've watched and the films that I've ranked. Let's have a looky. Let's have a looky here. So I. Why haven't diary? Is it here? Or was it lists? Diary. Here we go. So this is all the films I've watched. So back in September, I'm just gonna go through these. So I've ranked Spider-Man 5 stars, Hoodwinked 3 stars. Anyone seen Hoodwinked? No. Anne Hathaway, and that one guy that's in Family Guy in the wheelchair. Muscle, I gave 3.5 stars. I didn't know what that was going into it. Muscle was a really weird film. It was a black and white film about this sales guy who is kind of at the end of a rope in his life, and so he starts going to the gym, and then he gets involved with some shady characters, and the story transpires in a very strange direction. I would recommend you watch it, although not with your parents around. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I give that 4.5 stars. That is actually one of my all-time favorite films. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a phenomenal film. Is it David Fincher? I think it's David Fincher. I loved it. I really liked Daniel Craig. Rooney Mara was brilliant in it. Stellan Skarsgård, of course, was fantastic. Stellan Skarsgård is an incredible actor. He's been in Dune. He was obviously in Girl with Dragon Tattoo. Phenomenal actor. That Skarsgård family is just filled to the brim with acting talent. But I watched it and I really liked the whole theme of it. I liked how it was a murder mystery, but also a kind of not. I don't want to say it was a love story, but the whole way it all interconnected and all the characters bounced off each other was just brilliant. A Star Is Born, I gave that 4.5 stars as well. I love that film. I didn't see it in cinemas. I think my mother went to go see it in cinemas, and she quite enjoyed it. But I watched it, and fantastic film. I didn't realize Lady Gaga could act, which is why I'm so excited for the new Joker film, the Joker 2. It's a musical where she's playing Harley Quinn. That'd be good. If you've seen Walk the Line, then you should know that Joaquin Phoenix is a fantastic singer. That's another film I should review on here, actually. Walk the Line. That's a fantastic film. I love that film. That's like one of my comfort films. That and Godzilla 2014 are my comfort films. And I've got comfort series on YouTube, like Nerku playing Fallout 4. That's one of the things I put on when I'm having a shitty month or year, and I just chuck that on and relax, and that's that. The Wrestler, that's really good with Mickey Rourke. I really like wrestling, but I used to watch WWE a lot when I was growing up. But The Wrestler, that was a really good film, and it gave like a little look into what wrestling is actually all about. You know, the behind the scenes stuff, what the stuff you don't get to see, basically. What it's like in the backstage, and how kind of coming to the end of their careers wrestlers are mentally, and it's a really good story, actually. I would highly recommend you go watch it. It was one of Mickey Rourke's finest performances, in my opinion. He's quite a good actor as well. 1917, I gave that 5 stars. I just said just watch it, and I completely agree with that statement. 1917 is a film. It's obviously not done in one entire cut, but it's filmed to look like one long cut, and it works really well. It's a story about 2 soldiers who embark in a mission basically across German territory to warn one of the front lines to not attack because they're going to attack at dawn. So they've got like 12 hours to cross I don't know how many miles of enemy land to warn, and one of them is the soldier's brother, so that adds a lot more tension. But this journey they go on, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the journey they go on, the highs and lows, fantastic acting, and it's a great score as well. I listen to the score quite a lot as well. I'm just going to say go watch 1917. It's brilliant. Gone Girl, holy what a film. I need to read the book. Gone Girl with Ben Affleck. I can never remember the lady's name. I just hit the microphone, sorry. But that film, incredible. I love films like that are like psychological thrillers, like that and Prisoners. They are my that's my thing. That and Prisoners is my thing. I love those kind of films. Gone Girl was just brilliant, and go watch Gone Girl. As I said, I need to read the book. I want to do some book reading stuff on the channel at one point down the line. As I said, I do football content right now, but down the line, I'll probably make a second channel or a third channel where I do more like film and book kind of stuff and TV shows, and maybe have like a gaming channel, that kind of stuff. But then I did The Adventures of Tintin. That's a really good film. I gave it 4.5 stars, and that film came out in 2011. I remember it came out because we went up to, this is literally 10, 9, 8 years ago. We went up to Glasgow, and I remember saving up quite a lot of money. Not quite a lot of money. It was like £20, which was quite a lot of money to me back then. I remember saving up and buying the Adventures of Tintin game on Nintendo, and like the whole dogfighting sequence was actually really well done on the old Nintendo, and everything felt really smooth. That was good. That was good times. Random memory, but The Adventures of Tintin is a really good film. It's aged quite well. The animation style is all really good. I think it was motion capture, which helps obviously with the animation. And it looks fantastic, and it's a great story. The Guilty. Now, this, if I remember correctly, is a Jake Gyllenhaal film where he's is he a kind of when you call 999, he's the guy that picks up the phone basically, and it's this slow reveal of something horrific happening during a wildfire. I think it's a wildfire, and it's just brilliant. It's fantastic, and I give it 3 stars. Although looking back now, I really enjoyed it. But Jake Gyllenhaal definitely carried that film. He was fantastic. Fred the movie, I gave it 5 stars. Nothing more I can say. Basically, 5-star film. That Fred the movie. Fred 2, Night of the Living Dead, same story. 5 stars. Fred 3 Camp Fred, half a star. Terrible film. Don't watch it. No Time to Die. I was actually disappointed by No Time to Die. I'm just gonna have another sip of my. I'm about to say water again. It's not water. I was disappointed with No Time to Die because I'm gonna spoil this one. James Bond dies. Why? Why kill off James Bond? Silly decision. Especially when they're gonna be doing it again. They should have just kept it going. Oh, I don't know actually. In hindsight, maybe killing him off was like the good way to end it, but they could have done it in a bit more better way, I think, instead of just blowing them up with missiles. Like, they could have done it like in combat and like bled out, holding someone's hand and looking into their eyes and saying "I love you," and then that ending it like that. That could have been better than the way they did it, in my opinion. But No Time to Die, I just wasn't a big fan of it. I left it feeling a bit. Okay. The Batman. 5 stars. I gave this. I went to go see this on release day release in the cinemas that night. It was fantastic. I love the whole atmosphere with the film. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I think it's been confirmed. I hope it's been confirmed. I'm really looking forward to the next one though. The Batman was one of my favorite films that came out, and it really got me into. It's going to sound silly, but it really got me into Nirvana. That was my introduction to grunge music, was the release of the Batman trailer back in 2020, I want to say. I started listening to Something in the Way, and then one thing led to another. I was like, oh, okay, so this is... I'd obviously heard of Nirvana, but then that really got me to start listening to In Utero and Nevermind and all that kind of stuff. And then from Nirvana, I progressed on to listening to more kind of heavy metal. So I was listening to Black Sabbath. I was listening to Linkin Park. Well, Linkin Park's more new metal. Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, Metallica was brilliant. And then recently, I've just been listening to Alice in Chains loads. I stumbled across Alice in Chains. I was watching Nirvana's Unplugged, one of Nirvana's Unplugged thingies, and I was reading the comments. And I saw someone say something along the lines of, like, this Unplugged performance is on par with Down in a Hole by Alice in Chains. I was like, okay, well, let me see what the fuss is all about. I listened to Down in a Hole, and I was just blown away. And one of the comments was like, this is the closest thing you'll ever see to seeing a man perform at his own funeral. And that's true. Lane Staley died, 6 years after it, which isn't really soon, but that was like one of his last big public thingies, because he died quite slowly and painfully of a heroin addiction. Just completely destroyed his life. He became a recluse and died alone, which is not a nice way to go. But yeah, the Batman introduced me to music that I now love and enjoy every day. And so for that, I thank it. And as I said, the whole vibe of the film, I thought the story was great. I thought the Riddler was perfect. Um, the guy from Transformers, I can't remember his name, but he was fantastic. I like the twists. I like the turns. The visuals were fantastic. Robert Pattinson was amazing. I loved him in Tenet. And he was brilliant as the Batman, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. The Butler. The Butler is one of my favorite films, actually. This is one of the films that I go to when I'm kind of feeling a bit bored. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch a really good film. I'm gonna watch The Butler, and I quite like those films that take place over a large period of time, a bit like Forrest Gump, basically. But I quite like the ones that you see the character age. You know, he starts off as a kid and he ends up as a very old man. So you get to see basically his whole life, and you see his family grow up and how he deals with different political events. Because for those of you who don't know, The Butler's a film about he was brought up on. This is a film about the slaves and the civil rights movement. So he was brought up on a cotton field by slave owners, obviously, and then he started working at, I think it was a hotel or a bar, and I don't want to say he was scouted, but he started working at bigger and better hotels. Before long, he was a butler at the White House, and then you got to see an inside perspective of a black man in the White House during a racist administration, and seeing, and his son became a Black Panther, and you got to see him not travel through time, but you got to see him progress through time as different legislation and different things happened in the civil rights movement. You know, Martin Luther King dying, the riots and such, and it was brilliant. I really like The Butler. Batman Begins. This is the one with Cillian Murphy in it, innit? I always say his name wrong. Is it Cillian or Chillian? It's not Chillian. It's Cillian Murphy. Batman Begins, I gave it a 3 stars, and I stand by that. I think it could have been better. Although I did prefer this actress. Sorry, I just hit the microphone. I did prefer this actress of Rachel to the one in the latter film, in the Dark Knight. But for origin stories, it was quite good. Liam Neeson was pretty good in this film as well. Christian Bale, obviously, and Michael Caine blew everybody out the water with his fantastic acting. His natural, fantastic acting abilities. But the Batman Begins, 2005, 3 stars. The Dark Knight, I gave that 4.5 stars. In retrospect, probably 5 stars. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is one of the best performances I've ever seen from an actor. Full stop. And it's tragic that he died before he could see the world's reaction to the film. Because if he had seen that, his heart just would have melted. But as I said, he passed away, I think, from a drug overdose. Yeah, that's sad. But The Dark Knight, if you haven't, well, you've probably seen it already, but brilliant story. Christopher Nolan was one of my favorite directors of all time, and I'm really, really excited for Oppenheimer coming out later this year. It's in a few months' time, actually. So, but yeah, as I said, The Dark Knight, go see The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises, I gave that 3.5 stars. It was better than the first one, but not as good as the second one. Although Tom Hardy did a fantastic job in it. I don't know what much to say about The Dark Knight Rises. You know, as I said, it was a nice ending to the story. I think it tied some loose ends up quite well, and it set up the Robin storyline that was never explored with. I think it was Christopher. What's his name again? Something Love Hewitt. I can never remember his name. Sorry. I think he was also in Snowden, which is a brilliant film as well. Go watch Snowden. Transformers. I give that 3 stars. I'm just going through my letterbox basically at this point. Transformers. I quite enjoyed Transformers. I know it's a terrible film, like really bad, but it was fun. It's a fun film. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. 2.5 stars. Yeah. I mean, it was all right. It's just a bit of fun, these films, aren't they? And then Transformers: Dark of the Moon, 3 stars as well. This is the film I've seen the most of out of all Transformers films, I'd say. I'd always because I didn't have that much access to YouTube growing up. I'd always just put on Transformers Dark of the Moon and just skip to the Battle of Chicago and just watch that, 30-40 minutes of just pure action, uh, as I was bored. That sounds so sad. But I do that, and good film. Not a good film. It could be worse film. That's what I'm gonna say. But visually looks quite good. Um, I kind of like it, but and I kind of don't like it when they retroactively change historical events. So they made like the whole Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin going to the moon to check out a Decepticon or Autobot ship that crashed. Yeah, okay. I'm having a sip. Transformers: Age of Extinction, terrible film, 1.5 stars. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Transformers: The Last Night, 2 stars. Better than Age of Extinction, but it's still got 2 stars. It is the worst Transformers, up there with the worst Transformers films ever, and I'm not even going to bother with the new ones. The Imitation Game, 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars quite easily. I absolutely love Benedict Cumberbatch in this film. Him playing Alan Turing was sensational. I'm rewatching old scenes from that film because it's just so good. His whole story is quite tragic. For those of you who don't know, Alan Turing was a genius, and he was one of the people who broke the Enigma code, which was the coding, which was the what's the word I'm looking for? The encrypted code the Germans were using to pass to pass messages between one another and direct boats across the Atlantic and all U-boats across the Atlantic and such, without the Americans finding out. And in him figuring out the Enigma code and breaking it with his Turing machine, which I think he called Christopher, I think. I don't know if that's real though. I don't know if that's accurate. But in doing that, they were able to. They weren't completely. They were obviously listening to every single message and taking that down and into the intelligence, but they weren't acting on everything because it would become obvious that we had decrypted their encrypted messages, and then they change them. And so we would make small adjustments. Right, I just hit the microphone. We made small adjustments in the war. Like, we knew everything that Germany were going to do. They didn't know that. So we made small adjustments during the war to shorten it, basically. And we saved millions of lives doing that. So he was a national hero who was then prosecuted for his sexuality. He was a homosexual man back in the 40s and 50s. So not a good time to be alive for him. And he was chemically castrated, I think. And he ended up killing himself with cyanide. I don't know if it was infused in an apple. I don't know if that was just a rumor, but I know he killed himself with cyanide, and he's on the £50 notes now. But for someone who was such a hero to the country and who saved millions of lives, tragic story. Tick Tick Boom. This was a film that was quite big on Netflix back in 2021, and I think it won quite a few awards. Andrew Garfield's singing role, surprisingly good. I actually quite enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I thought it was a really nice story. And the music was quite good, and I listen to the music every now and then. I should watch it again, actually. I quite enjoyed it. It was quite a fun ride. I could certainly empathize with him struggling to write that script. I do that sometimes with the videos where I'm just staring at my screen for literally 2 hours. Just I've got the word "the" as the opening, or I've got a word as an opening for a sentence. I just mentally can't get past that. And so it was a really nice story. As I said, Andrew Garfield blew everybody out of the water. And I don't know if I don't think he won an Oscar, but I'm pretty sure he won an award. And it was brilliant. The Hunger Games. Now, this is me being delusional. I give this, not delusional, but I give this 4 stars, so more stars than Tick Tick Boom. I'm a fan of the Hunger Games. I'm going to say it proudly. I quite enjoy the books. Growing up, I'd always listen to them. The audiobooks to help me fall asleep. And then I'd watch the films, and I really enjoyed the films. I love that whole concept. No, I'm not gonna say I love the concept because that makes me sound like a sadist. But I find concepts like that, like not apocalyptic worlds, but what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Like worlds and societies where something mad has happened and everything's changed, similar to Divergent. You know, that whole thing of what if society or what if the world was like this? What if things like this happen? What if da 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 da. And then it's a tale of characters in that world. I love that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff because I like to picture myself in that world, and the Hunger Games is certainly an interesting world to put yourself into. And so I gave that 4 stars. Strong performance from Josh Hutcherson and let's say Katniss Everdeen, Jennifer Lawrence. Brilliant film. Sorry, I can't talk. The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. I actually think this was better than the first film, which is rarely done. Usually the sequels aren't as good as the first film, but I would actually say Catching Fire is better than the Hunger Games. I like the whole jungle vibe, along with all the political stuff going on in the background and the manipulation to the media to spread a certain message and to try and reduce the chances of riots happening, but it still happens anyway. How Katniss and Peter are being manipulated to portray this love story, and so the rebels in the districts, they try to fool them into thinking that their act, because in the first film, spoilers, in the first film, they are told that right, I should have explained this more. I'm going to explain this now. So in the Hunger Games, it's set in North America after loads of stuff has happened, nuclear war and global warming is set hundreds of years in the future, and there's 12 districts and 1 capital. The capital is basically where all the districts send their resources, and that's where the richest people live. It's where no one there goes hungry, basically. And then the districts are 12 states, if you will, who all specialize in one industry. So like coal or textiles or cows or lumber, something like that. Or fishing, that kind of thing. And there was a rebellion, and in order to remind the districts who is really in charge, the capital would then perform a reaping at once a year, where they go around and take a random boy and a girl from the districts and had them all compete, 24 in total, had them all compete against each other on live television in Battle Royale. And the last person standing is rewarded with riches and a nice house. It's just started raining. How nice to listen to. You probably can't hear this on the microphone, but if you can, well, it's a nice ambience. It's a nice change for my voice, isn't it? As I said, I love can't talk. As I said, I love the whole concept of the Hunger Games, and but yeah, the rebellion is the whole. They're trying to strave off rebellion. That's what the whole Hunger Games thing is about. It's about instilling fear. That at any point they can just take your children and have them brutally murdered on television. But in the Catching Fire, I'm jumping ahead already. At the end of the Hunger Games, sorry. As I said, Katniss and Peter, they're from the same district, District 12, and they're told that if they're the last 2 surviving, they can both go home because they're both in the same district. Then at the very end, when they are the last 2 survivors, they say, actually, you know what, scrap that rule. You got to fight to the death now. Only one of you can go back. And so they say, you know what, no, we're not going to do what you said. We're both going to commit suicide. Then you'll have no winner. And then at that point, they have to make a decision, or the capital has to make a decision. They make their own decision. They could either kill them both and be like, you know what, no, you're not going to kill yourselves. We're going to kill you. We have all the power. Or they let them both live and just let 2 stupid, in their eyes, 2 stupid children outsmart their whole system. And that's exactly what they did. And from that point on, all the districts were like, well, if they can do it, we can do it. We can outsmart them. We can rebel against them. And that's exactly what they did. That spark ignited a flame that brought on the end of the capital, which began in the Mockingjay Part 1. Which I gave 3.5 stars. Not as I didn't like this one as much as the other ones. This is probably the lowest ranked one out of the 4 Hunger Games films, not taking into account A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is coming out I think later this year. Looking forward to that. I'll get into more detail on that later, maybe if I remember. But yeah, I didn't really like Mockingjay Part 1. No, I guess it stays in line with the book. I was about to say the atmosphere is quite grey, but that's how it is in the book, because the majority of it takes part in District 13, which is the Forgotten District. Everyone thought District 13 was blown up by nuclear bombs, but they got this massive underground bunker basically that runs on for miles, like miles underground, where there's been a whole state basically living. and everyone's like on rations, and there's not much oxygen. There's enough oxygen to live, but there's not much. So you're always kind of like everyone's uh everyone's feelings, everyone's emotion is just so dull and grey, and they're all having to live in such squalor conditions, and it's just not fun. But fantastic. As I said, that's more of a political film. Sorry, which I actually should prefer more. Maybe I misjudged that. But Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, strong finish to this series. Lots of action in that one. They're in the capital, storming the capital. You got that whole love story between Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 with or throughout the entire books with Peter and Katniss. I should say this. I keep forgetting stuff. At the end of Catching Fire, they're rescued. It doesn't go down to one survivor. They're actually rescued when there's still quite a few of them still alive by the rebelling districts. They break into the arena and take them. But Peter's not taken. Peter is taken by the Capitol and he's tortured. And they hijack his brain, basically, to the point of making him think that Katniss is like some evil mutation that's out to kill him and his whole family. And so when they bring him back to District 13, when they steal him back from the Capitol, when they break him free, he just sees Katniss as this monster, and every time he sees her, he tries to kill her. Bear in mind, this is the love of his life and her life, so quite an interesting twist in the tale there. But in Mockingjay Part 2, they end up happily ever after, so yeah. Inception is 5 stars, big heart. What can I say about Inception? One, it's an incredible film. You should all go watch it. I'm going to have a drink, actually, in memory of... It's not dead. In memory of Inception. You know who is dead? Ted Kaczynski, actually. Unabomber's dead. That's some weird news. But yeah, Inception. I love films like that. Like Interstellar. And, as I said, Tenet. That really play with your mind. That really engage you mentally. The whole concept of... I've always wanted to be able to do this, but the whole concept of being able to control a dream, and it goes back to lucid dreaming, but the whole concept of being able to enter other people's dreams and build worlds in them that are hyper realistic and lose yourself in those, and in a dream fall asleep in that dream, and then time goes even slower in the real world because when you're dreaming, your brain perceives stuff faster, and so although time is still happening at a regular rate, because you're perceiving stuff at a faster rate as well in your mind, basically I don't want to say you live longer in your dreams, but time moves slower in the real world than it does in a dream. If that or is it the other? See, I'm confusing myself. That's the brilliant thing about Inception. The whole concept of it, like incepting into other people's dreams and time moving, changing. And that's a massive concept in the film. How time works. Fantastic. You know what? Just go watch Inception. Just go watch it. Beautiful soundtrack as well. Hans Zimmer, unbelievable. Man of Steel, I gave 1/2 star. I really didn't enjoy Man of Steel. In hindsight, maybe I could give it maybe 2 stars. But I remember watching Man of Steel, and it took me like 4 or 5 hours because I had to pause and just walk away from it loads of times. But I wanted to force myself to watch it, and I really couldn't. I couldn't get myself into it. I just couldn't. I really didn't enjoy Man of Steel. Split is fantastic. James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy, who was obviously massive in The Queen's Gambit. Unbelievable. James McAvoy really showed off his acting range in this film. For those of you who don't know, Split is a film about a guy with multiple personality disorder. I'm sure there's a different name for it, but he's basically got like 27 different personalities that he goes in and out of, and all of these people have different backstories, different accents, jobs, mental ages, strengths, like literal physical strengths. One of them, he can literally like climb up walls and shit. It's crazy. But oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. And as I said, Anya Taylor-Joy, fantastic in it. And she was in the Mario film. She's in The Northman. She's in quite a lot of films. She's done quite well for herself. But go watch Split. It's sorry, I can't talk. It's another one of those films that really plays on your mind is like, oh god, it's so good. Right, go watch Split. And then obviously I've said my piece about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, but I was bringing up a Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Uh, Good question. I'll ask that. I'll answer that in a second. From Asterix Blade. That's a really good book. It's about the origin story of the president in the Hunger Games films, who's totalitarian and evil. President Snow, Cornelius Snow, and his involvement in the Hunger Games early on. He's the one who brought in the whole idea of live betting, which is a massive part in the books and the films. But I'm really looking forward to that. My sister got me the book for, I think, Christmas a few years back, and I managed to get around to reading it. And it was one of the first books in a while I'd read, because I've just been so busy with school and you know, a lot of the time, like, why listen to a book when you can, why read a book when you can listen to it? But I decided to know, I'm going to sit down. I'm actually going to read this, and it was really nice, like having that feeling of finishing a book and just seeing how much you've read. And yeah, it's a good book. I'm looking forward to the film. What made you support Chelsea? Fantastic question. I'm a glory hunt. No, I'm joking. My dad. My dad, thankfully, is a Chelsea fan. Imagine he was a bloody Spurs fan. Oh my god. Terrible life. Yeah, my dad. And I'm glad he did, because Chelsea has brought me some of the highest and lowest points in my life, and it's definitely made it a lot more fun. And if it wasn't for my dad supporting Chelsea, I would never have made videos about Chelsea or manager breakdowns, and I wouldn't be in the position I am in today. So for that, I'm forever grateful. But that's why. My Nan or Onana, who would be a better fit for Poch's Chelsea? That's from BNCFC. I'm done. I've looked into Onana a lot more than I've looked into my Nan. My Nan, not my grandmother. I love her. In theory, Onana, he's a lot better on the ball, and he actually performed quite well against Man City. They scored an unbelievable goal that no one was getting close to. That Rodri shot was just perfect. No one could have saved that. Not even Courtois or anything like that. And Onana's really comfortable with the ball at his feet and playing out from the back, which is what Pochettino would want to do. My Nan, as far as I'm aware, is a really good shot stopper, and he's, I thought he was older than that, but he's 27, 28 years old. And goalkeepers are not like regular footballers. They hit their prime later in their career. So they hit their prime around about 30, 31, 32, even 33. They can play until like their 37, 39 before they really start deteriorating in terms of their reflexes. But if I had to choose one, I've got to go with what I've got to go. I hate to say this, but I've got to go from what I've seen as Onana. But my Nan, I would, if you gave me the choice, I'd take my. It's gonna sound really stupid. Onana would probably make more sense. I'm taking my Nan. I prefer my Nan as a goalkeeper. Sorry, I prefer my Nan as a goalkeeper than Onana. I feel like my Nan has a little bit less bozo moments in him. I keep bringing that up, but it's a real term. And the whole Chelsea fan were absolutely excited about the thought about us getting linked to my Nan. So, for good reason. Here we go. This is from. See if I can say Kanavik on YouTube. 3 strikers you'd want to see Chelsea pursue. I want Marcus Thuram on a free, Rasmus Højlund or Santi Jimenez. I haven't looked into Santi Jimenez. Who does he play for? Let me know in the comment section down below if you know where he plays for. 3 strikers we should pursue. I don't think we get Harry Kane, so in that case, Victor Osimhen, Rasmus Højlund, and I've seen people talk quite good stuff about Kolo Muani. I quite like Gonçalo Ramos. Just got to think. We're not going to get Harry Kane. Harry Kane on paper would be perfect. Obviously, Pochettino brought through Harry Kane. He made him the player he is today. So that would be, hand in hand, brilliant. But we're never going to get Harry Kane, not with Daniel Levy being how he is. So I would say Victor Osimhen, Rasmus Højlund, and Kolo Muani. I guess Kolo Muani. As I said, I haven't seen too much from him, but he's rated quite highly amongst Chelsea fans that I know. So, why ask me this question? I cannot pronounce it. Why oil clubs are bad for football? Um, this is the comments to this question. I agree that there are bad, but don't word the question where you're obviously looking for one answer. Just wait until Newcastle really splash the cash. True, but apparently Newcastle have quite a limited spending budget this season. This summer saw like 60, 80 million. Very interesting. Why oil clubs are bad for football? I mean, I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm a Chelsea fan. So to say that they ruin football, I can't really talk. We've had a lot of our success from the players we bought. I'm not going to pretend we didn't. But I feel like they take away a lot of the romance from football. This is a very Rory Jennings take, but I really do agree that a team like Inter Milan winning the Champions League would feel a lot more football and a lot more authentic than a team like Manchester City. Because with a club like that, it's just like you only got there because you bought all the best players. You didn't really make them yourself. And you could say, well, Phil Foden nearly scored as well, but he's like a rare example. Phil Foden is a fantastic player. A team like Liverpool winning the Champions League, although I don't like Liverpool, I do respect that because of how they've, done stuff as a club with Michael Edwards as their sporting director. Yeah, they spent big on Alisson and Van Dijk and Darwin Núñez, but they, as far as I'm aware, they won the Champions League before Darwin Núñez, so that doesn't make sense. But they spent wisely. They didn't just buy Haaland and they didn't just buy De Bruyne, although De Bruyne is quite a good buy for them. We should have kept him. And they didn't just buy Grealish for £100 million, stuff like that. But the reason they're bad for football is because they snap up all the best players and they take away the romance and the really exciting storylines. A player signs for Man City and just like that's boring. That's the way I look at it. It takes away the fun and enjoyment for football in my opinion. Sorry, I can't talk. It's from YA Fave Leog. Sorry. What inspired you to begin making videos about Chelsea? Pure pain. As I said, I originally wasn't going to do Chelsea videos. I was doing gaming videos. I was doing The Last of Us videos, and then bloody Graham Potter was really annoying me, and so, us being us, we usually sack managers, and so I was like, you know what? Why not make a video going over a manager I'd love to see at Chelsea? And I did a video for Hansi Flick, and then that blew up. Well, I say it blew up. It got like a few thousand views after a few days, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be a millionaire. But that's it, really. Pain, like wanting to see my team do well, and so my way of dealing with that was creating scenarios on paper and putting out into the world of a scenario in which I believe Chelsea would do better than we did under Graham Potter. And that was it, basically. Just wanting my team to do well and sharing my opinions with the lovely people on the internet on how I believe Chelsea should go about things to reclaiming their former glory. That's why, basically, pain. Graham Potter caused me so much pain, I started making Chelsea videos, and look where I am now. Can you predict the Premier League top four for 25-26? Very into the future. Man City will be there. 25-26, where will we be? By that point, we'll have players like Amari Hutchinson, Cesar Casaday coming through. Levi Colwill will be properly established as a really good player. I think we'll be there. We've got quite a lot of young players by then. They'll all be in like early to mid-20s, which is where they really start hitting the ground running. Some of them will probably be entering their prime by that stage, actually. So, top four, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to say Chelsea will win that league, 25-26. Chelsea, I think Man City are going to drop off slightly. I don't think Pep will be around them. So Chelsea, Newcastle. No, Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Man City. That'd be the top four. I think Man United. I think something's going to happen with Man United. I think something's going to happen with this takeover. I've got a bad feeling they might have something similar happen to us, and it might take them a little bit longer to get where we are. after watching the Champions League final, you did. If you did, are you confident on Chelsea's position on both Romelu Lukaku and Martinez? I don't want Martinez. I don't want Lautaro Martinez at the club after seeing that performance. That was absolutely dreadful. And Lukaku, I mean, I've made my stance pretty clear. I do not want to see Lukaku in a Chelsea shirt ever again. The only thing that annoys me about that is how it might have caused his value to drop because it was so bad. It was such a bad performance. I mean, I've already gone on about. Bloody hell, that was a terrible performance from Romelu Lukaku. He's going to need lots of hugs from Megan Thee Stallion tonight to get through the pains he's caused his team. I just hope there can be some deal struck with a Saudi club where we manage to get like, I don't know, 30 million for him, 40 million for him. That'd be a deal. I'd be surprised if we get anything more than 10 million. So, but Saudi clubs are silly with money. They don't really understand the values of players that much. I mean, they bloody got N'Golo Kante on 100 million a year. I'm sorry, what? 100 million a year? Bloody hell. But I think that's about it. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this. I covered the Shark Attack, Bears, Moose, film reviews, Chelsea, Man City winning the league. I've answered your questions. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, Ted Kaczynski died. I've already mentioned that, but for those of you who don't know, Ted Kaczynski was the Unabomber. He was this. People believe he was part of MK Ultra. They did loads of tests on him when he was at university. It kind of fried his brain a little bit, and he ended up going absolutely mental, living out in a tiny cabin, building bombs, sending them to executives and tech companies and Boeing companies and universities, while writing a manifesto about how technology is taking over the world, which is somewhat true. But, you know, I understand, no, I somewhat understand where he was coming from with his message. I disagree with his means. I don't think mailing bombs to people is a good idea. No, I'm not even going to attempt a joke. It could come back to bite me in the arse later on in my life. Ted Kaczynski, interesting person. I'm just going to say that he was going to die anyway. I'm pretty sure I remember hearing he had cancer whilst in prison because he's got people on the outside. I say people on the outside. People write him letters as you do. And he replied to one of them saying, continue the good fight, but I won't be doing it for much longer, so you got to do it in my wake. So that kind of implied that he knew he was on his way out with an illness. I actually remember that very vividly. I was playing Ghost of Tsushima while listening to that video essay about Ted Kaczynski. Good times. Good game, Ghost of Tsushima, by the way. Absolutely beautiful game, and I think there's a second one coming out soon. Go play that when it comes out. Spider-Man 2, actually, that's what I can talk about very quickly. It's the new Spider-Man the new Spider-Man game looks really, really good. I'm looking forward to playing it. I really enjoyed playing Miles Morales. It was the first game I got platinum, and but the physics on that game felt really nice. So I can only imagine how they're gonna feel on a properly PS5 game. This is gonna be I feel like it's gonna be like a proper PS5 experience. This isn't gonna be on PS4. This is a properly only PS5 game. So look forward to that, guys. I was going to say one other thing, wasn't I? To be continued. That's going to be the end of the episode. That's going to be the end of the episode 3 for the long take. I'm sorry for how much I've stumbled across my words today. It's been a long week, and I've got a lot of editing to do later on tonight. Well, I say later on tonight. It's bloody 20 past 11, and I'm up early tomorrow, so do a little bit of editing. Get to bed. Go to work tomorrow, come back and edit some more, try and get that midfielder video out for you guys as soon as possible. I hate when I take days to put out a video because I know how much you guys, don't want to sound bombastic, but I know you guys enjoy my videos, and so the idea that I'm letting you guys down is really, it hurts me more than you. Trust me. I want to do this all day, every day, and the fact that I had to spend 8 hours away from you guys is not fun for me. No. But that's about it. Thank you all so much for listening. This is, as I said, this is going to be a listening thing. It's not really going to be a visual thing. Just something to put on in the background. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you next week on episode 4 of The Long Take. Get in the comment section. I highly doubt anyone's still listening, but if you are listening at this point, reply in the comment section down below kind of topics you want me to discuss other than football. Topics that are topics that are interest for you. That'd be kind of interesting. I'd like to hear what my audience likes, what kind of music you guys like, what kind of countries you are from, countries you visited, cultures you enjoy, religions you follow, all that good stuff. As I said, in the comment section down below, leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.